guys, welcome to Game Latte. Today I have a few announcements to share and a main topic. The topic is female portrayal in video games and comics. And before you groan, I'll have to say that my position probably varies a little bit from the mainstream, well, from the majority. Anyway, and from what you've heard so far. So stay tuned for that. First of all, my announcements. Actually, no, first of all, what I'm drinking today. Today I'm drinking a Mayan, no, I'm going to butcher this name, and you know what? I don't care. You can correct me in the pronunciation if you guys want. But anyway, Mayan or Mayan? I'm not sure which one it is. And the reason why I mispronounce stuff is because my first language is français. Je parle en français. C'est pour ça que j'ai de la misère en anglais des fois. So if you have a stupid comment to make, I don't give a fuck, okay? So anyway, yes, I do feel strongly about that because some of you guys have been kind of jerks about it. But anyway, a Mayan mocha, and it has cayenne pepper in it, or cayenne spice, and cinnamon, and so it's a very spicy type of mocha. Oh, I'm having a hard time today with chocolate syrup, of course, and coffee and all that, or cappuccino, and it's really tasty. I'm really enjoying it, and I got it from one of the local coffee shops, Cafe Europa, which is really fantastic little place. And they have the most wonderful Belgian waffles I've ever tasted. They're so fluffy and nice, and there's fruit on it, and it's just to die for. Anyway, so the announcements I have to make is I will no longer be doing videos for game names, unfortunately. I've decided to stop doing them for a couple of reasons. One of which is because I was already thinking of cutting back on them, because I will be going back to school most probably in February. So I will be entering the aesthetics program, and which I'm very excited about. Very excited. This is kind of a big career change for me from being a cook for years to being an esthetician and nail care provider. So it's a bit more my alley, I think. So. But it will be taking a lot of my time, and I think my focus on video games is definitely going to change. And I actually think I will be spending more time in Final Fantasy XIV, which actually does surprise me too. And Star Wars The Old Republic when that comes out. So probably I will be focusing more on Final Fantasy though, just because it's my personal preference. So I am going to stop doing game names videos, but I will start a new section focusing on just one game in Final Fantasy. I'm going to call it Moogle Speak, and the name is partly inspired by our friend here on YouTube, GamerMD83. She has a section in her video channel on YouTube called Mass Effect Talks. And I really love those. They're really wonderful. So there's a shout out to you, GamerMD83. So please go check her channel. It is wonderful, smart and sassy, and you gotta take a look. And so anyway, so we'll be having Moogle Speak, and also Moogle Speak is something in Final Fantasy XIV. If you've played the Gridania introduction, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, Moogles in Final Fantasy XIV have their own special way of talking, and only certain adventurers, like your player character, can understand them. So not everybody in the game world, like the NPCs, can understand Moogles. So only if you have a certain ability, which I believe is tied to the Echo. But anyway, I'm going totally ahead of myself. So that will be a new section, and yeah, and that's very exciting. I don't know how often these features are going to get around. I'm hoping at least bi-weekly, like I was doing for game names videos. So check out for that. So I will definitely have more of a MMO focus, more of a Final Fantasy XIV focus on this channel from now on, and I won't have so many single player video game reviews. Although those are not going to be completely extinct, I'm just going to then just won't appear as often. Depending on how fast I go through the single player games. So right now I am working through Costume Quest, and I'm thinking I'm going to be recording some of that tomorrow. So, you know, stay tuned for that. I'm hoping I have time to do it tomorrow. And then, so this week I'll be having this video and costume class. So there's content there for you. Okay, on to the main topic before we run out of time. Give me a sip here. Although I do have unlimited time on these videos now, so I don't have to worry about time so much. But basically, I shouldn't say that so much. Anyway, one thing that has sort of frustrated me a little bit this past couple of weeks has been, you know, this whole hoopla about the new 52 of the DC comics. The whole rebooting thing of the entire franchise almost, of all the main titles, has been met with a lot of controversy, which most people just slamming the portrayal of the female characters. Now, I will say right off the bat that I do agree with the whole Starfire thing, mostly. What I don't agree with is the fact people are really try to hammer home that, you know, she's being over-sexualized and all that. And the thing is, first of all, you have to keep in mind that these comics are at least either teen-rated or M-rated. So, you know, keeping that in mind, and the fact that it looks like, you know, they did say that their audience is for a wider audience, is that I'm not really buying it. It's from what I've seen, from what I've read of these comics, they seem to be targeted towards an adult audience. Basically, people who have been reading these comics for a while and who kind of want fresh perspectives. Or what I'm thinking is people like me who used to maybe look at comics when they were a kid, and then life, you know, started happening, didn't have, you know, went to college, whatever, didn't have as much money to spend on comics, kind of lost track of what was going on, and now are, you know, having an interest again. And that's my perspective anyway. And in that sense, I really enjoyed what I've seen so far. I've been reading the Catwoman comic, which has got a lot of backlash, and I personally really enjoy it. What I don't enjoy about it is the way that the character is drawn, is penciled. The ink is well done, and I actually really enjoy the story and the take that they take on this character. But some of the way that she's posed and all that is it's only a contortionist will be able to pull off those moves. Like, there's no way. Like, it's just some of the angles are really weird and odd, and that I really don't like because it wasn't very fluid. The penciling is really not fluid, and I don't like that. So, and it's really awkward, I guess is the word there. And so in that sense, I don't like it. But the story itself, I'm finding really intrigued and drawn into it. And the whole, you know, sex scene with Batman and all that, I actually thought it was fabulous and hot. I really did. And I think mostly because in my head, Batman and Catwoman have always been canon. That's always been the two couples in it. And it always got on my nerves when Batman was, you know, flirting or getting with that photographer chick, or, you know, some of the other dates or women he's been flirting with or whatever in the universe. Because to me, it's always been Batwoman and Catwoman, kind of like Superman and Lois Lane. You know, Lana and all these other characters have always kind of got on my nerves when they come around. But, so anyway, so that really didn't bother me. And the fact that Catwoman was quite assertive and forceful in that, you know, went along with the kind of character that she is. And I also, because of the whole controversy thing, and people were like, oh my god, you're over-sexualizing these characters, I actually went in and looked up at least the Catwoman history and how she was conceived and created. And that's basically, her character is very much the, you know, the vixen, she's a trickster, she's, you know, she polarizes the bat. She's, you know, the main creator was saying that they wanted a female character that was kind of like Batman, but complete opposite at the same time. That was kind of like the dark side of Batman, and kind of the yin to his yang kind of thing. And also that, you know, she would be very mysterious and all that. And some of the thing that they said about women in general was a little, you know, not backwards, but it was a little ancient. I mean, she was created a long time ago. I don't know if it was the 1930s or something like that, but it was a long time ago. So, and some of her, uh, she's based on 2 or 3 different actresses, and they were, they were kind of always the vixen kind of of characters in their movies. So anyway, so just to say that my point also, oh, the other point I really want to make as well is that it's not just the women in these comics that are presented in that way, it's also the men. And I know that there's been people saying that, well, no, the men are presented in a powerful way, in the way that men want to be. But I don't know if I imagine this, but the way that I look at some of these iconic male characters like Batman and Superman, for example, even Nightwing, to me, they are hyper idolized and even sexualized. I mean, do they need a codpiece? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure the bulge down there is much bigger now than it used to be. Like, I was reading Justice League International from the 80s. And the way that the people are drawn, they are idolized already, but it's not like in your face, sensuality. It really isn't. But in these new comics, it really is. And it's not just the ladies. It's definitely the men as well. Maybe it is a little different because they are drawn by men, but there is still hints of heavy sexuality in there, as far as I could pick up anyway. Maybe I'm just crazy, but that's what I was thinking. And also, this whole thing has made me think about female portrayal in video games as well, which is something that's been, beat on for a long time. But I just wanted to say that as a female player, I am mostly attracted to video games where women are presented as intelligent people with emotion and with ability, and basically with a really wide variety of characterization and personality. That's what the games that I mostly am comfortable with. When girls are basically just pinups and stuff like that, I do agree that those kinds of games don't really appeal to me as much, and I kind of look at them like, yeah, whatever. Although it doesn't completely repulse me like some other ladies that I've read about. I am okay with a lot of skin. I am okay with, not a whole lot of armor, especially if there's a lot of magic involved. For example, one of my favorite comic book characters is Lady Death, and she wears basically nothing. But in Lady Death, the male characters also wear nothing. So, as long as it's equal, I don't see a problem with it, really. And that's the whole thing about equality with gender and all that. If there is an inequality, then there is something to bitch about and moan about. But as long as both of the characters are shown equally, and they're not going to be shown exactly the same way because men and women have different qualities, so in that way it's not going to be completely the same, but at the same time it should be parallel. There should be a parallel in how they are both portrayed. That's basically what I'm saying, is I'm really not for, bashing male idealism to try to bring up female idealism, and that's kind of what I'm seeing a little bit, and it's a little, I'm a little saddened by it, because we really should be, trying to champion how women are portrayed in a positive light, and not having to beat up on everything all the time to get a point across. For example, Geek Girl conference had an article about the panels that were at the conference, and they were saying how, they thought it was kind of sad how in the BioWare marketing for Female Shepherd, we asked to have Female Shepherd represented in the media for years, for a really long time. We've always, said, BioWare, you don't really think about us, but the female players and the fans of FemShep. Can you please give us something? And in Mass Effect 3, they said, sure, we're going to give you a trailer. We're going to put her on the collector edition box art. Or you're going to have posters of her. But you get to pick what she looks like. You get to vote on what she's going to look like according to these concept arts. And of course, this was a huge debacle, because what the vote that, first of all, they had the poll on Facebook, which may or may not have been a good idea. First of all, it might have skewed the perception because they were saying that people who saw it on Facebook may not all have been FanChap fans and just random people. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I think they should have had the poll on the Borrower social site network only. But I think they were trying to get, you know, as much people as they could. And what happened is the one that was voted for was Blonde FanChap, and people were just so upset and to the point of bashing blondes in general. And you know what? That was just the lowest point I've seen so far in our community trying to champion, you know, women portrayal, and then we just go at each other's throats when it comes to something that's supposed to be fun and, you know, that is supposed to be for the community, and we're just attacking each other. It's terrible, and I really hope that that's really the last time that something like that happens. And as a community, we really should be, again, looking for positive ways to encourage change, not always, you know, trashing things, because that just, I don't think that's really constructive, and it just gives the impression to creators and developers that no matter what they do, really, is they're just going to get nagged at all the time. And so if we, you know, say, you know, we appreciate that you're trying to give us something, but we would like to see a little bit more like this. Now, the thing about the Starfire thing is I do back up people that are bashing that one because of what I've read about the creator, and he seems to be really have very a slanted view on women, and I guess the fact that her background as a sex slave was brought on by concerned female not leaders, but you know, co-workers of this creator, it was kind of a big warning bell for me, because he wasn't even going to put that in there. She was just going to be, you know, this alien slut, basically. And that's not cool. That is not cool. That's all. As far as Catwoman goes, again, that's part of, you know, of her character. And maybe I'll change my mind depending on how they take her character so far. But so far in the story and in the comics, and there's been only 3 issues out, but I do really like the way it's going. She's a very smart, sassy, you know, sexy character that unfortunately is very tragic. She does have a very innocent and naive side to her, and that basically bites her in the butt. And I really like that, you know, the whole Batman dynamic, and that he's kind of torn between locking her up and trying to redeem her. So I thought that was done really well, but I'm crazy. The other thing I'm supposed to be looking at is the Superman reboot as well. I guess some people didn't like how Lois Lane was redone, but from the description it sounds like they basically took her back to her roots, and because of the reboot, you know, the dynamic had to change back to what it used to be. And Lois Lane and Clark Kent used to have this dynamic where Lois basically didn't really take any note of Clark and was always sort of being very dismissive towards him, and that's just how it started. And then there's the other upside where, you know, Lois is very ambitious, and she finds that she has to prove herself a lot in her career. Back in the 30s, it was because she was a woman, and women weren't really, you know, really accepted in those fields that she's in, journalism. That's not really the case anymore so much. Well, not the case. It kind of still is a little bit in some cases. And this is going on a little too long, sorry. And but anyway, the point with Lois is that she's always trying to you know, achieve her goals, and she's very what do you call that? She's very ambitious, but she's very, I'm looking for the word. She goes after what she wants to achieve very strongly. And then that's cool. That's who Lois is. She's a very strong character, and that's what attracts Superman to her, because she has an inner strength, so to speak. and the way that she treats him has always been kind of like that at first. And then, you know, she eventually warms up to Clark, and then she falls in love with Superman. And then at one point, the Superman-Clark thing eventually comes together, but that takes a long, long time. So with the reboot, we'll get to see that whole progression all over again, which I'm pretty excited about. But I haven't read this comic yet, so I'll reserve further analysis until then. What I would like to say is, you know, if you want to read comics where there is some really good female characterization and where the penciling and the art isn't so in your face, you know, boobs and butts, check out Dark Horse. They have some comics with main ladies that are totally normal, or at least, you know, less idolized and a lot more friendly to what most female readers would like to see anyway. So, and I recommend, oh, I forget what name, Joss Whedon has a few comics there, and has a new one. I forget what it's called right now. I'll probably put it down in the comment section. And it's really good. It's a very Buffy-esque post-apocalyptic story, and I absolutely love it. It's great. So check that out. And also, as for women in video games, what I wanted to say with all this blabbing about was that to give examples of two companies that I keep going back to all the time, because they have characters that I can identify with a lot easier than in some of these other companies. And that would be Square Enix and BioWare, definitely. Both of these companies create female characters that are strong and have a lot of personality and ability, that are able to do things to get the job done. And that's what we want to see, guys. That's what we want to see. We don't, you know, it doesn't all have to be about posing and, oh, look at me kind of thing. But, so anyway, that's basically what I have to say about that. Give me your opinions, and sorry about the long video, but I guess I had a lot to say about it, and we will see you next time, hopefully in a little while, with Costume Quest. Bye.